Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So you can imagine that this was eventually going to come. This was eventually going to happen after the news broke that Errol Spence had eye surgery because he has or had cataracts. Now, a few days ago, we know that Errol Spence took to his Instagram, posted in his stories that he had the eye surgery. And he also mentioned that the cataracts had been covering up his eyes for a long time, essentially had been an issue for a while. And he also mentioned, why did you think that he got caught with so many jabs and hooks? Essentially saying that the cataracts affected him during the Terence Crawford fight. Now, there's been a number of different reasons and rationale for why Errol Spence performed at the level that he did perform. We had never seen Errol Spence perform at that level. But this was the first time Errol Spence himself had actually addressed his performance. Now, during that night, Errol Spence went on a bit of what I would call a Twitter rant, talking about a number of different topics. And during that Twitter rant, he actually gave Terence Crawford his props, saying that he believed Terence Crawford should be the fighter of the year. And it bothered him to say that because it came against him. So that night, Terence Crawford just said no comment. But we know Terence Crawford will randomly go on his own Twitter rants. And eventually a response was going to come, a real response, because saying no comment is really not necessarily a response. And I'm not sure why say no comment if you don't have a comment. Just don't say anything. But Terence Crawford took to his Twitter today, and he's talking about a lot of stuff. He's going off on Boots, saying that Boots still fights in theater, so make it make sense for him to fight Boots. He's talking about Teofimo Lopez, calling him a little bitch ass, and every time he sees him, he doesn't even look Terence Crawford's way. We know Teofimo Lopez just recently called out Terence Crawford. And now Terence Crawford went on here and he said, last I can recall, we definitely get our eyes checked before every fight. I'm just saying. Any boxer would know that, but casual fans will say and make up anything. So when you hear that, it implies that what Errol Spence is saying in regards to his eyes being covered up for a while is a lie. Now, he could be talking about some of the things that fans make up, but at the end of the day, if you're implying that you get your eyes checked, and Errol Spence has been saying, or Errol Spence said the other day that the cataracts has been causing him an issue for a while, then you're basically saying that during the pre-fight examination, the cataracts would have been found and he wouldn't even been allowed to fight. That's the only thing that I can come away with when you say something like that. Now, cataracts is not something that just happens overnight from what I can understand relative to cataracts. It's something that occurs over an extended amount of time. So I would guess that this cataracts did exist when Errol Spence fought Terence Crawford. Now, if I'm Terence Crawford, I'm wondering, or you can make the argument, to what extent did it affect you, right? And sorry, I'm actually, look, I wish Jason was on here because he could ask his wife about this, but I'm looking up cataracts. How long does it take to happen? But the development of cataracts can vary from person to person. They typically develop gradually over many years, but the exact timeline can vary based on factors such as age, genetics, and overall eye health. So if Errol Spence needed to have cataract surgery in January, it is likely that cataracts existed during the fight a few months ago, since it usually takes years for the cataracts to essentially happen or materialize. So, but Terence Crawford is pushing back against that. He's basically calling Errol Spence out, and essentially, in my personal opinion, he's calling Spence a liar here. I don't know what extent Errol Spence has cataracts. I don't know to what. I don't have cataracts. I don't know exactly what cataracts looks like. I don't know exactly how it affects you. Maybe somebody in the comment section can answer that question, but I'm about to ask right now: can cataracts make it hard to see objects approaching your face? I'm just curious. Yes, cataracts can make it difficult to see objects, including those approaching your face. Cataracts causes the lens of the eye to become cloudy, which can result in blurred or hazy vision. This cloudiness can affect your ability to see objects clearly at various distances, including objects coming towards your face. So clearly, cataracts could have impacted Errol Spence in regards to his ability to see punches coming from Terence Crawford. Here's the argument I would have made if I was Terence Crawford, because it's something that I thought about when I actually saw the eye of Errol Spence. It appears, and maybe I'm wrong about this, and this is no shade towards Errol Spence whatsoever, but this is just a question that if I was on the other side of the fence, this is what I would ask. It appears that it's your right eye that you had cataracts in. It appears it was your right eye that you had surgery on. Terence Crawford fought out of a southpaw stance the entire night, which means that his jab and his hook would have been on your left side, which means you should have been able to see those punches coming. That's really the argument that I would make if I was Terence Crawford. Now, I don't know how true that is. I don't know if it was actually Errol Spence's right eye. It looked like Errol Spence's right eye to me from the pictures. But I remember seeing when he had the situation with the Manny Pacquiao fight, seemed like there was some confusion in regards to which eye it was that was actually impacted for Errol Spence. But like I said before, you can't. I think there's a lot of people that in fairness, there are a lot of people that are discrediting Terence Crawford's performance against Errol Spence. On this channel, we are not discrediting his performance against Errol Spence as much as people would like to say we are. I'm a believer that arguments are not necessarily binary, meaning that it's not simply black and white. Two things can exist, right? It can exist that was not the same Errol Spence that we've seen in the past. He looked different, visibly different before he even got in the ring and before the fight even turned in the direction of Terence Crawford. He didn't quite look right. That can be true. But also what can be true is Terence Crawford's skills in that southpaw stance was an issue for Errol all night long. All night long. And Errol kept dipping to his right-hand side. Terence was able to parry the jab and throw his own jab. And so, to me personally, Terence was just a better fighter that night. Although I think Errol Spence can put on a better performance, and he's going to have to figure out a way to offset some of the things that occurred during that night. Two things can be true, right? So we're not taking any credit away from Terence Crawford. You can argue whether or not the cataracts really affected him if it was in his right eye, how it affected him. Now, it could have affected him from the right-hand side, so maybe straight lefts could have impacted him or something like that if it's the right-hand side. But you can argue against jabs and hooks being as effective since they are more so coming from the left-hand side, specifically the hooks. But, it is what it is. Terence Crawford is probably going to continue to go on a tirade later tonight, and it will be interesting and entertaining. So we'll see if Errol Spence decides that he's going to respond tonight. More than likely he won't. I think he's probably going to chill. They tend to switch on and off when they go back and forth. But again, Errol did give Terence Crawford a lot of love, saying that, he got his ass whooped. He admitted that. He also said that Terence Crawford should be fighter of the year. So clearly he's not using the cataracts as a reason why, he lost at the end of the day. He's saying that Terence Crawford should be the fighter of the year based off that. So you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and .am.